by our top three drivers from race 1. Jordan Taylor 14th, Zach Palmer 13th, Alex Mostav, who we just spoke to, will start from 12th. At the front of the grid, Jensen Bell and James Sherrington. Bell on the left, Sherrington on the right as we look at it. Then the two yellow cars, the yellow and black, is Harley Connolly with Will Crewdson alongside, who perhaps are not quite on the ultimate pace just yet. This could be the recipe for a very exciting opening lap or so. Red lights are on, Jensen Bell on the inside, James Sherrington on the outside, the lights go out, and it's a pretty even getaway from both of the front row drivers. Charlie Constable away really well from the back, look, squeezing up the inside of Jordan Taylor and Zach Palmer towards turn 1, and they're leaning on each other slightly. Taylor ended up almost in the barriers there. They are 4 and 5 abreast further back. That is not going to work. I'm convinced that we're going to see cars off the road here, and yes we do, and that's either Mostav or Morgan sideways. I think it was Mostav, and he is pointing the wrong way. Through will go his teammate CJ Morgan, getting through that unscathed, but Alexander Mostav tagged sideways. Sintler was involved, Stannard was involved, so was Levine Kishore, and that involves some of the front runners from race 1 who just tried to squeeze too many Citroen Saxos into too small a space at the first corner. Bell, that's for 4th position at the expense of Josh Salvatore, who now gets leaved aside by Nathan Jensen. The gloves are off, and that's CJ Morgan thinking about going up the middle of the pair of them. I think as the championship leader, he did the right thing in backing out of that, because they're still side by side and trading virtual paint in front of him, and he could well pick up the pieces if it all goes wrong. The race 1 winner is also making some good moves, and despite a bit of shoulder barging on the run to turn 1, he got through the first corner unscathed. CJ Morgan into the back of Salvatore, that was a little bit rough. Josh won't like that, he's lost his momentum. To the outside goes Taylor, and this could be important. Jordan Taylor wanting to get CJ Morgan as quickly as he can, runs out onto the grass but gets decent traction off the turn, and Jordan Taylor, I think he's going to go through into 6th position. Yes he does, CJ Morgan had to let him go, so Jordan Taylor from 14th on the grid is 6th at the end of the opening lap. And when you can compare that to Mostav and Palmer, who remember joined him on the podium in race 1, well they are outside of the top 10 still. In fact, that is Mostav and Palmer. There's a car off the road in front reversing back into Will Crewdson, that was James Sherrington, and that was a little bit clumsy I'm afraid. Will Crewdson unfortunately ends up off the road and now rejoins as part of a 4-way battle that includes Mostav and Palmer. Palmer straight lines the chicane, Mostav is sideways, clatters into the side of Lewis Stannard, I think that was. Levine Kishore up the inside of the pair of them. This has been a bruising opening lap and a half of racing, and they're not done yet. Stannard bouncing off the side of Charlie Constable's car into Tower Corner, and then Sintler gets into the back of him as well. Kishore up the inside, bang, 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 off goes Constable, tries to bully his way back on the track, but they're 3 wide again now towards the Jim Clark S's, and I think perhaps the blood is starting to boil now in this group as drivers just keep on leaning on each other at parts of the track. You really don't want to be doing that. Still they are 3 wide. They just went 3 wide through the Jim Clark S's and all live to tell the tale through Barcroft. That is Stannard up the inside of a recovering Mostav, I think, as Mostav tries to go around the outside of him into 12th place. I think he'll do it, especially if Will Crewdson helps, which he does by going for a gap that never really existed and punting Stannard onto the grass. Right, deep breath everyone, because CJ Morgan and Jordan Taylor are back at it. They both caught Nathan Jensen, and CJ Morgan is back past Taylor and past Jensen, who goes the other side of the tyres, tagged Jordan Taylor to the outside of him into the hairpin, and Jordan Taylor's back ahead of CJ Morgan. Those two trading positions about 3 times in the space of 2 corners there. The lead, by the way, belongs to Harley Connolly. He is avoiding all of the drama and is 2.1 seconds up the road already. Riley Bishop 2nd, Jensen Bell 3rd, Jordan Taylor is 4th, and really on a mission here. 14th to 6th on lap 1, 6th to 4th on lap 2 now, and all of a sudden a double race victory for Jordan Taylor is absolutely on the cards. Remember, Jordan coming into tonight was down in 4th place in the points and a long way off, some nearly 40 points off the championship lead. Needed a good night here at Croft, and a good night is what he is having. CJ Morgan there right round the outside of Jensen Bell down at Tower. A little bit of contact on the ex-Jim Clark S's, but CJ Morgan does manage to go through. Paul Lewis Stannard's having a nightmare race in the end. He's been off again through Tower, and Charlie Constable rattling off the side of Alex Mostav's car have really made the progress through the field that they would have hoped for. There goes Jordan Taylor though, he really is, and he's got up the inside of Riley Bishop now for 2nd. So Jordan Taylor, absolute man of the match for me so far. This has been a sublime drive, and he's into 2nd place already. Further back it's anything but sublime. That is Jensen Bell getting squeezed out wide. He's got the inside line for the hairpin and just slots in behind Josh Salvatore. Jensen has got Zach Palmer and Zach Palmer and Nathan Jensen behind him. And Harley Connolly 2.3 seconds up the road. Now on the previous lap was about 3 or 4 tenths slower than Jordan Taylor. That was the first lap that Jordan had been in clean air, of course. So the gap was 1.8 seconds, or is 1.8 seconds. It's coming down again on this 4th lap of the race, I think. See what it's like at the end, what the lap times are, but you can see the delta on the top left corner of your screen creeping down by the corner. Levine Kishore here trying to creep round the outside of Jensen Bell. There's a little bit of a touch. Kishore almost runs off the road, steams back up the inside line, and somehow Jensen Bell and Luke Sindler narrowly avoid the tyre stack that claimed Charlie Constable from race 1. Actually, Jensen Bell managing to fend them both off at the moment as Kishore runs very wide onto the grass, exiting the hairpin. Towards Clervaux corner again. Connolly then the leader. Taylor second. CJ Morgan third. Riley Bishop fourth. Then Salvador, Jensen Bell, Kishore, Sintler and Mostav. So Alex Mostav still only 10th then after his various issues at the start of the race. And again, just as he was starting to put himself back into the championship mix, looks like he's going to have a disappointing race too, but he may benefit from all of this if they keep on driving like that. Levine Kishore finding a gap that I didn't think existed, but he's squeezing through and has gone past Jensen Bell. That was a good bit of driving actually from Levine. In fact, it could even happen down into Tower Corner, which is where they're headed. There are the top two. Jordan Taylor not quite close enough, but Harley running a little bit wide. And honestly, if Harley is sensible here, I think he will let Jordan Taylor go. The race win would be lovely, but I just don't think that it's a hill worth dying on, so to speak. He is going to likely be overtaken by Jordan Taylor anyway. And if they really start battling, then CJ Morgan could close in and rob Harley of a second place. Because I actually think that if Harley sat in behind Jordan Taylor, that would give him a bit of extra pace from the slipstream. He could follow Jordan as well and learn from the driver who clearly is the fastest out on track here tonight. And maybe he could keep CJ Morgan at arm's length. And I think that's what's happening maybe, because he doesn't bother defending the inside into the complex. Jordan Taylor is up the inside line. And just after the halfway mark, Jordan Taylor completes the back to first challenge almost as quickly as we've seen from anyone this season. CJ Morgan did it in the race that never was at Silverstone earlier this season. But that was another really impressive first 10.5 minutes or so of racing from Jordan at a track where it's much more difficult to overtake. It must be 6 laps completed. Jordan Taylor to the lead. Oh, that is James Sherrington pointing the wrong way. Not for the first time tonight. Had that off in race 1 and a couple of little incidents at the start of this one too. Jordan Taylor is really the one who now could move up to be CJ Morgan's biggest challenger. He is 21 points, I think, no, 31 points off the championship lead. Meanwhile, Alex Mostav around the outside of Jensen Bell, still struggling to get into 9th position. Can he go right round the outside at Hawthorne? That's a risky move to make, but it will give him some more momentum through the chicane, as long as Jensen Bell leaves him the space, which in fairness he does. Benefit there is. He's unlikely to bring other people into the battle. So there they go, look. Harley Connolly comes across the line. CJ Morgan in 3rd position, a 48.9 for both of them. So actually, Harley Connolly responding there with his fastest lap of the race so far. Jensen Bell is in the pit lane. Not sure what happened there. 3 as it stands. Still plenty though, and in fact it's going to be slightly slightly more than that, because CJ Morgan goes up the inside of Harley Connolly, who does stand his ground this time against 2 wheels on the dirt between Sunny in and Sunny out, and CJ Morgan manages to slip through. So now only 4 points being dropped by CJ compared to Jordan Taylor. I could still see Riley gain some places. Yeah, CJ Morgan has been Mr. Consistency this season long. A bit of winning in the first couple of races. Now, I'm not going to be too confident in saying this is the final lap. I think it will be the final lap, because the pace has been slightly slower, at least in the first half of this race. So I think we'll end up with 11 laps, but I'm going to try not to get caught out by that again. Kishore will be hoping it's the final lap, because he's starting to struggle a little bit now to keep Luke Sintler behind. Excellent racing driver, holding on to 7th by the skin of his teeth here. Immediately pulls to the middle of the road out of the Jim Clark Estes to defend. You don't really want to defend into Barcroft though. It's the next braking zone here at Sunny where you want to keep that inside line covered. It's a bit wide onto the grass, but that you can get away with. Corners for the final time. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes, this will be the final lap, I think. The checkered flag awaits then for a perfect score for Jordan Taylor. lights to flag victory from pole in race 1 with the fastest lap, and this one from the back of the grid with the fastest lap yields a second victory of the season for Jordan Taylor to put himself that little bit closer in the championship. CJ Morgan scores well for second though, Harley Connolly third, Josh Salvadori fourth, Nathan Jensen fifth, Riley Bishop sixth, and Levine Kishore just hangs on to 7th position ahead of Luke Sintler. Alex Mostav in 9th position, and Lewis Stannard will complete the top 10. And after an eventful race, we end up with a fairly familiar podium, although great to see Harley Connolly up there, actually. That's probably the big story there, isn't it, outside of the championship contenders. Harley Connolly getting himself onto the podium for, I believe, the first time this season. So really, really good stuff, that from Harley. And only a second and a half behind CJ Morgan in the end. Jordan Taylor is the